Yeah, it's my biggest pet peeve. I hate it so much.
So, all right. So we're talking about worst trends in DCI in the last 20 years. You wrote one down. You said it was you have a might be a pet peeve. See, I wrote down three and could have written down a few more. And it's
Yeah.
not like I'm hating what's going on, but there are some of the things that are happening. The way they're happening is frustrating me.
Yeah.
And also I'll say that a lot of change is hard, and so a lot of things that I may sit here and complain about today, they're figuring it out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when things
Right.
first happen and they're like, oh my God, the electronics are a big mess, but now they figured out how to integrate it. So I am willing to be patient as a fan and as a participant and let things figure out, but that doesn't mean I can't go, I don't know about this. Like this is what we're talking about today.
No,
What's
right.
going on with this trend?
Right. We don't have to like everything, but as you said, there's ways to work the problem out.
Right.
You know?
So like some of mine are like, I don't like this trend, but I am hopeful that they will find a way to make this trend work and I'll buy in, because that has happened before where we're all really freaked out about something and then they figure out how to make it work and we come with it. You know, I mean, that's how we can't, I don't want to be left behind as some old codger. So you can write in the comments that Tim's an old codger, get off my lawn. That's fine. I mean, that may be the way I come across for some of this. But I think I'm trying to process it. And so that's what we're talking about today is, well, what are we thinking of the trends of the last 20 years for now and where have they gone and all that. So do you want to go first or shall I?
If you want to go first, because my list is smaller, but
have
every
a
time you
short-
mention one, will you make sure you dip your glasses down and like wave a cane over your head?
My cracky. Okay. So my number one least thing, and the worst trend for me right now that I really don't like is sound reinforcement of the entire brass line. Okay, we talked about soloists in the best trends video, which I think is I'm sort of buying into. I still think a trumpet's loud, so does it need to be mic? But we've talked about situations where it made sense and it did enhance the show. So I'm willing to buy in there a lot more. But I'm really frustrated that it's a brass line of 80, 90 people or whatever it is. It's loud, right? So the fact that we have to go in and like juice it and make it loud or whatever, I feel like I don't like it. I also think it's there's big discussions about this in the world of marching band, because there are people that are miking people and enhancing sounds to make the whole ensemble sound better. It's sort of like, to me, it's sort of like, okay, the guy with the right technique and the know-how and the technical ability and the money, they're getting this huge advantage. And that's, of course, always been the way it has been. But I don't like the fact that we're reinforcing the whole brass line. I just don't think it should be necessary.
Right. And I'm gonna be honest, like there's only one core that I truly noticed a huge difference. Like when I listened to finals all the way through, and one like popped out, I was like, okay, we need to turn these knobs down a lot because it's actually hurting my ears. And there was one that significantly popped out. It's like, come on, like this is way too much. Just turn everything way down.
Right, but I mean, there are even cores that are recording the brass line playing a big chord, and then they're adding that to the electronics.
Oh, really?
I'm not even sure if that's legal. So that when you get to a big chord, they're also playing the recording of the chord while the chord is actually playing. Like this kind of stuff just drives me crazy.
Huh.
Okay. And we talked about, they all got better. Like 2 years ago, it was so frustrating, but this year they all did it a lot better. I'm doing a webinar series right now at marchingartseducation.com about sound systems, amplification. These guys are pros, and they are really making it work. So even though I'm sitting here sort of grousing about it, I know that there are really great people, like the people that are on those webinars. Those guys are super brilliant. They really care, and they will talk about, here's what we're trying to do. You're not covering it up. You're not faking something. You're enhancing what's already there. If the band or chorus is playing out of tune, they're still going to be amplified out of tune. So it's not doing a lot of things that people claim it is to give a crazy advantage, but I don't think a drum corps. Listen, I saw a drum corps back in 1979, where I'm sitting in Birmingham, and the corps is just loud and impactful. And this is drum corps this is where I fell in love with drum corps.
Yeah.
The first corps I ever heard was Spirit of Atlanta, and they played that da 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 impact off the line, and I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my whole life. Like I fell in love with drum corps that day at a rehearsal when the corps came walking out in the field and played this impact of their show, and my life was changed forever, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about changing the brass to B-flat bugles away from G bugles in our last conversation, some people point to that as the time where we lost that brightness, volume, impact. And I think that part of what we're chasing is to try to get that back. At least that some people claim that that's the way they're seeing the sound reinforcement that's going on with brass lines today. So we're trying to get back to that punch in the gut thing that we used to love back in the 70s, 80s that's gone.
Yeah.
Or missing or not as impactful as we remember.
Right.
So that's part of it. But anyway, a couple of years ago, we sat there and all I could hear was the core through the speakers, and I just hated it. And I wasn't even listening to the core play in Indy. But they fixed that this past year, and when they're doing it better, it still bugs me.
Yeah.
I should stop talking.
It's as you're saying, it's obvious when a core is not doing it as well as others, because I mean, if like I didn't realize that some cores are like playing a pre-recording.
They will claim that they're not, and very few are. And I'm not saying that's a thing that's normal. I'm saying I know, of course, they have done that. Okay. And so that bugs me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't need to beat this dead horse. I think that they're going to fix it. I think the sound system guys are brilliant. They really care. They're really smart. And their idea is to simply help enhance and adjust and be able to hear things you normally might not be able to hear. Their concepts are valid, but it makes me, I'm nervous about it. All right, let's move on. What's yours?
All right. So mine, I don't even know how to describe it that well. And I'm sure as soon as I start talking about it, you're like, oh, this is what this is called. But and I will admit, most likely when I'm annoyed with this, it's because a core is doing it poorly.
That's always the way.
Right. I do not like the single characters out in the middle of the core and just like not really doing anything, but just walking around like doing this and just like not really doing any work, but they're just wandering around. And my focus immediately goes to them. And all I'm doing is really watching them walk around the field. And I know it's distracting me from watching something else that's more like better executed and something else that we're supposed to be watching. But because this person has been placed on the field just to walk around the field and just present themselves as like, I'm a character, it gets in my way. And maybe that's me as a viewer not doing my job of like, trying not to be distracted, but
no, don't take that on yourself. That's the way they're putting the show together. Listen, this is just the way doing characters badly is what you're describing, and most people do characters badly.
Yeah, they do. But
because you single somebody out, there they are, they're different, and that's what's so hard about it. Listen, anytime I write a show that has a character, first of all, I try to get people not to do it. Because the problem is exactly what you're describing. How do you keep them interesting and engaging the whole time, and how do you get them to look away?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
They would have to be a truly great performer who has like some sort of equipment or something that they are phenomenal on, but they will keep interest for like a 3-minute piece, much less a whole show.
Yeah, but you don't want to watch them the whole time. I don't want you to watch them the whole time. I'm not there to watch one performer.
Right.
Right. So it's just that they're doing it badly. Okay, right. And I agree with you. Using characters on the field is incredibly difficult. It's usually done really badly. We've all watched, like I saw one time we had this group of people and there was a chase scene. And they did a chase scene for the whole opener. So after a while, they're trying to run away. And then after a while, they're just sort of standing there going like this. And you're like, it's just maddening because they don't have anything to do. Because you can't have a chase scene. We don't have a theatrical thing like a movie where you can cut to the next scene and they're running in a different scene. No, they're just on the field.
And they run out of facial expressions after like 20 seconds.
Yeah, and then they're like, it's terrible. It's terrible. So I will say that this is just, you have to do it right. And there are a lot of times but basically what you do is you have them go away, right?
Yeah, right.
There are ways to have them go behind a prop, go over here. You can make me not look at them. I worked with a show one time where we even had the character go over here and fall asleep on the sideline. And what happens is you literally realize they're not doing anything and you look away. So there are all kinds of ways to handle this well. I would say that, who's really great at this is Scott Chandler of the Blue Devils. He's really great at understanding how to use characters. If you look at last year's show in 2018, he had all these characters from the painting that they were doing.
Yeah.
Nighthawks. But it was brilliant. If anybody watching, you should watch this show because he takes these characters and they come into focus when he wants them to come into focus. But then he makes you look away. And it's interesting how he does it. Sometimes they disappear behind a prop. Sometimes they just become part of the Saber line and they start performing. And somehow it's done so well that they just become part of the Saber line. And you still see the girl in the red dress, but she's not demanding your attention because of the way she's integrated. That's a clinic.
Yeah.
And actually, I did that course. There's a course at marchingartseducation.com with Scott Chandler about design. You guys should go check that out. But he talks about this in one of our conversations about how he integrates characters in and out. Anybody that's thinking of doing that definitely should hear that part. So anyway, I get you. And the other thing is there's a real liability, because if that performer's not great, as you mentioned, then you're just watching somebody that's like, oh, we found a scrub from the study hall and we brought them out to fill this role, and then all of a sudden, it's like you put the worst kid in the pit on the cowbell because it seemed easy, and they ruin the show because they don't know how to keep time. Like you can't throw these things off like that.
Right. And there's many other solutions to it too, but like even just look at Santa Clara from this past year. They didn't really have a character, but at like the big moment at the end when the two platforms are coming together, they kind of had two characters there. Like, oh, these two characters never show up in the show, but yet I care about them right now. Right. So there's ways to make it happen.
Yeah.
And they weren't even in a different uniform,
Right. So it's about the mastery of how you do it.
Yeah.
And so there are podcasts and there are information at marchingartseducation.com about how to do this right. So, and maybe I need to do some more. I'm glad you mentioned it because it can be really frustrating.
That's one of my that will take me out of a show because I just end up watching them, and I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to be watching them right now.
Well, right. And the thing is, everything's becoming so theatrical now, which I kind of like the theatrical trend in a way.
Yeah.
It's controversial, I know, but the problem is some people think theatrical, oh, I'm going to have a character. And they get themselves something, but you don't have to do it that way. Anybody watching, you don't have to put Dorothy in her gingham dress and then figure out what to do with her for 8 minutes. You don't have to do it that way.
Yeah.
Remember Skywriters? Was that the 90s and they did The Wizard of Oz and all the guard was Dorothy and it was awesome?
I want to say it was like late 80s.
I have this conversation with directors all the time, John. Well, they will say, I want to do a show about Cinderella, and we have this one girl, and she's going to be Cinderella. And I'm like, no. And I will tell them, no, the whole guard is Cinderella. Put them all in the Cinderella thing. It works. It's a better way to do it. We're demonstrating Cinderella-ness, but we don't have to deal with one girl. I'm telling you, there are solutions to this. Talk to me. If you're struggling with this, Tim at marchingroundtable.com. I will help you. Okay.
If you email me, you email the wrong person.
But I really love that you brought that up because it is very frustrating to the viewer when it's not done well.
Yeah.
And it's not done well more than it is done well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim, this was my biggest pet peeve. This was my only thing I had on the list. Let's hear yours.
Okay. Well, my second thing I wrote down is ill-fitting jumpsuits. Okay, and what I mean is I'm not a big negative on the whole uniform trend.
Yeah.
I'm really down on how we seem to be stuck in this moment where everybody's trying these new things, and there's so many of them. They're so ungodly painful to look at. And I'm sorry, an ill-fitting jumpsuit is just horrid. Okay, and I mean, I'm sorry, indoor drumline guys, but you did this to us, and I know that your activity is a completely different thing. Okay, it works in your venue. Why the world of indoor percussion bought velour jumpsuits as the big thing to do? I don't know. They all do it, but it seems to work for them. But they also have a drum over their crotch. Okay, I'm sorry, I know I said that out loud, but I don't want to see body parts. And the problem is, and I had a conversation, there's a YouTube video where I talked to Eric Sabach at Stanbury about this, and it's really helpful. And he talks about how it's the patterning, it's the materials, the fabrics that they're using. But if it's not designed right, and then you say, okay, well, all the guys just have to wear a dance belt. Well, fine. But really, do I have to have an 8th grade, 14-year-old tuba kid wear a dance belt to do band? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. There are other fabrics being made. There are other designs of things that are being made that are moving, they are stretching, they are more contemporary, but I don't want to see every nook and cranny. And I don't think that a high school kid should feel that body conscious in their band uniform where people that can see every bump and crevice they have. We all feel so conscious about our bodies.
Yeah, and you
especially
know that
when we're in high
does
school.
not help them perform. Their confidence level probably goes down.
And I'll tell you something Eric said on that video. You guys can see this on YouTube. is kids are going to quit band. I'm sorry, but if you put me in something that I don't feel good having on my body, and I think this is true for color guard too, I'm not going to be a part of your group if you're going to put me in, some sort of spandex pink sequin, something that I just don't feel good in. I don't want to be a part of your group. I know that's a little harsh, but I think we have to think about the kids, the community, what we're doing. There are solutions out there that aren't like this, but there have been, as we've started this trend the last couple of years, oh my God, I'm not going to name names, but there was a corps a couple years ago where they just kept changing costumes, and at the end, they ended up in this saggy, baggy, drippy jumpsuit thing that was just hideous on everybody. I mean, I'm sorry, Arnold Schwarzenegger would look like crap in this thing. It's ridiculous. Nobody. Anyway, all right, I've ranted enough.
No, we've been at that performance before, and mine was like an indoor. When the new WGI wins, and I had to I couldn't watch a show because the uniform was so ill-fitting.
There's no excuse for it, and I'm sorry. There are ways to be in character to use this new trend, printed fabrics, but there are people developing fabrics that work better. I've had conversations with them. You can find them on my YouTube channel at Marching Roundtable. But anyway, that bugs the hell out of me. I'm sorry. There's no reason to make a kid feel bad or awkward just because you feel like it has to be on concept. Well, I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. Put a brooch right here. You're on concept. Okay. Do you want me to say my third one? My third one on my list? My third one on my list is overly elaborate props. Okay, I've already said that I don't mind a theatrical trend. I don't mind that we're creating environments and making concepts really come to life. What's happening is the sets are getting so elaborate. One, I think there's an issue with safety, and actually DCI recently just passed a rule about prop safety. Oh, yeah. Which I've been doing. There are podcasts you can find at Marching Roundtable about prop safety. I've done series of them because I'm worried about that. I've seen people up on things without a railing, and I'm like, holy crap, there's a bass drummer up 10 feet in the air with no railing on a tiny little thing, and it scares the hell out of me, and I can't even enjoy the show. I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, do I have 911 on speed dial? Because I don't know what's about to happen. So anyway, but my problem is overly elaborate, okay? I'm okay with creating the environment. Here's what's happening, and corps directors have told me this, corps staff members. Those marching kids, they're out there practicing all day. They have to stop an hour early to break the prop down. Then they show up at the show an hour early to rebuild it, put it back together, schlep it around, take it out of the field. I'm sorry, John, when I marched drum corps, I would not have wanted to spend 2 or 3 hours of my day screwing bolts together and putting props together. That is not interesting. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to play my horn. I wanted to make music. I wanted to march my drill. And then I wanted to go lay down, But this is what they're doing, John. Look, think of how elaborate some of these stages have gotten, these props and things. Yeah. It's too much. I think it's too much. When you're asking corps members to take hours out of their day to put elaborate props together, I think it's too much.
Yeah. Now, do you feel comfortable naming one example?
No.
Just so we have an idea. Okay.
I'm not going to name names. People know. I don't want to do that because the thing is, I love these people. I think they're brilliant. I think they're doing great work. But sometimes everybody, no matter how creative you are, makes bad choices. I've done it. I have created props for shows that I really regretted later. Okay. And part of that was because it didn't get implemented well. Part of it was because it was usually too much for the group I suggested it to. I'm finally learning in my old age that there are certain things that certain groups just shouldn't be asked to do. And I'm also learning to recognize the red flags when I have an idea and I realize, oh, this is not the group. Because I get all romanticized and excited about the idea. I want to see this come to life. And then I don't realize that the people standing in front of me are not really completely equipped to make it happen. They get excited, their booster parents get excited, but then it doesn't truly come to life. So if you're somebody like the Blue Devils and you have all this money and people behind you and you have this brilliant people putting the show together, they can make it happen. Most high schools should not try to build a set that comes together in 20 pieces to build an elaborate painting in the back right corner. That's just not something anybody should do but Scott Chandler, right? Yeah. But and so that's an example of it working. I also, by the way, think that those props were probably constructed in such a way that I don't think those corps members spent hours and hours putting those together all day. Okay. I don't think that was the case. But we have seen props on the field that I know took people hours and hours to schlep around and carry and put together and take apart, and it's too much. As much as I love it in the show, and I think it's a great effect, and you see Winter Guard groups and marching band groups, it's usually they have a whole slew of band dads, and they're all into it, and they love to get together, and they go build props, and they put them together before the show, and they have a beer, and they're having a great day, right? Like, that's a whole different thing than asking some 21-year-old to skip 2 hours of his rest time because he's got to get out the ratchet, whatever the hell it is. All right, I feel like I'm ranting. I didn't mean to get this wound up. But
no, that's.
I think we need to think about that part too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We have to think about that part too, and I don't think a Corps member should be asked to take 2 hours out of every day to schlep stuff. I don't.
What's your email address so everybody can email you about it?
Me, send at marchingroundtable.com. And by the way, when you're watching this, comment. We want to have discussions. Go to the Marching Roundtable Facebook group page. Join that, and we're going to have a conversation there about these things because I think it's good to talk about them. And listen, I'm expecting people to disagree with me, and I'm willing to learn. You can change my mind. I am always willing to rethink my position. I have done that multiple times. Okay, where I've said I don't really like this, and then the really smart people figure it out and they make me become a fan.
Yeah.
And like this year's Blue Coat show, man, those uniforms were the most complicated, complexly designed thing ever on the field. And I loved it more than anything I've ever seen. So I'm not saying I don't like the uniform trend, but I'm saying I don't want to see you in an ill-fitting jumpsuit where I can see everything I don't want to see.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying about that trend.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I'm done. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good.
Thank you guys for bearing with me as I get all wound up about this. It's just, I love it so much. This is what, we all love the activity so much. We love Drum Corps. We want it to be great. There's so much great about it. There's so many people doing it right. And I think what I'm reacting to is frustrations with the learning curve as new things happen. And right now there's so many new things at once.
Yeah.
So that's that. I've talked long enough.
I think it's that learning curve for sure.
We have faith in you, gurus and experts in the world of Drum Corps, that you're going to make this all work. Some of you already are. Help us get everybody caught up. This is why I'm doing webinars and podcasts, trying to help people learn what they can do so they're not putting their 8th grade tuba player in an ill-fitting jumpsuit. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Tim.
Go to ToneDeafComics.com to see the great work John is doing, including the latest comics and great merchandise like posters for your classroom. You can also sign up to get comics emailed to you as they are released. ToneDeafComics.com. Go to MarchingArtsEducation.com, where you can get access to the top marching arts professionals through live webinars, videos, and coursework. Imagine where you can take your group with just a few new valuable ideas. You can interact with the experts and ask questions during live webinars. MarchingArtsEducation.com. And go to MarchingRoundtable.com to see over 750 podcasts. Make yourself more valuable by listening in the car, at the gym, or at your convenience. There's great entertaining conversations on most every topic you might need help with. Get some fresh ideas to help take your group to the next level at MarchingRoundtable.com.